Okay, so first off, we have the overview that says what is product strategy, what is product execution, why the gap exists, real world examples, bridging the gap, with practical steps and tools to support alignment and
Hi,
key
please,
behaviors.
can you make it full screen? You just click on slideshow. It will be full screen.
Senses.
Yeah, thank you.
So first, I'd like to define what product strategy is. I know we must have been hearing product strategy. It's not the first time we're coming across the word, and we all know what a product is in the tech space. We've always heard about what products and product strategy is, but it simply just means that when the process at which you as a product, maybe manager or product owner, defines the vision, goals and directions of like a product, be it like a web application system, a mobile application or whatnot. So it usually involves three steps, basically. Understanding the user needs. That is when you are in your discovery stage and when you're in your discovery stage and you are trying to, maybe do some market research, try to understand what what product currently exists and how you want to solve the problem. Maybe it's an opportunity. Necessarily doesn't have to always be a problem. You can see like a gap or like something that is missing in between. So you then go on to understand what you're trying to build for your users. And I think essentially that's the most important thing that we need to understand as product managers or product owners, because at the end of the day, whatever you're building, you're going to be giving out to users, and you need to understand everything, right from maybe like them having a very friendly user base that when they log on to your products, they're easy, like it's easy for them to brand. They don't need to reach out to maybe your support system to say, oh, I don't understand what this thing, like I don't understand this interface. Can you put me through and stuff like that? And you need to, when you are doing your product strategy, you need to be very genuine. Like personally, whenever I'm building a product, I like to put myself in the position of a user, that if I'm the one using this application or if I'm the one using this service, I need to like, what are the things I would like to enjoy? Where are the things that what are the things that will make me want to always keep coming back to this application? So another thing is you need to understand your market. You need to understand the competitor analysis. So understanding the market involves you doing like countless market research. Even while building maybe a prototype or your MVP, you still need to understand what is in the market, what has been built, and how you want to do better, or maybe you're going to make your own more affordable, more accessible, or something like that. So those are the things we consider while doing our product strategy. Then we go on to setting long-term objectives. So for the first phase of whatever it is that you're building, you might not have all the resources that you need. You might not have all the materials that you need, even stakeholders, even investment. But you need to be able to decide that, okay, within the first 10, let's say within the first 2 months, this is what I want to achieve. And then that is where product road mapping comes in. You should be able to set the objective that you want and like envision what you want to do within like a long period of time. And it just sets the foundation for decision making and prioritization. So when you strategize appropriately, you know the features that are important to like the products, you know that this will be your selling point, and it just makes it easy for you to push out your products. You don't need to worry that, what if I don't add this feature? Maybe people will not like it. So with product strategy, you are able to make better decisions as regards your product, and you're able to push out what actually solves the problem or the opportunity you're trying to get with the product. So we then go on to product execution. So after like the normal cycle of maybe agile, where you discover a product, you start your initiation, you start your development, and in the process of after you've done your initiation, then you start to execute the project, or you start working on the product essentially. So product execution is like the operational side of bringing the strategy to life. So you must have done all your market research, done all your market analysis, competitors analysis. So product execution just basically involves four steps. That's road mapping, like I mentioned earlier. When you are strategizing, when you are planning around like a product, you need to be able to envision what that product is going to do, what you want to achieve with that product. In a situation whereby you're building an MVP, maybe like as a side project, or you're working on or working with a startup, most of the time you always push for an MVP, which will essentially contain like core features and all of that. Then you then go on to say in like new times like this, and most of the time when we want to build something after building like our MVP, which is the regular maybe monolithic service architecture, or at most a microservice architecture, we then think that okay, everybody's doing AI, everybody's doing AI. So we want our next version to be around AI and like to be in trend with everything that is existing, because you might not have the financial budget to take up something that would include AI. But with road mapping, you'll be able to envision that okay, after this first stage of pushing out or launching this MVP, I want to be able to include AI. Then another thing that we do in the process of product execution is sprint planning and backlog management. It just makes it easier when you break your product execution into sprints. It makes it easy for you to achieve your goals, the objectives you must have set out. Just makes it very easy for you, because you say, okay, within this first and second week, I want, maybe let's assume that we have like a fintech product. I want the authorization and the authentication to be done. Then you work with your stakeholders, including that is majorly your development team, telling them, okay, the front end guys, the back end guys, this is what you are, this is assign tags, and then if they are like, then you now bring up your daily stand up to be able to manage this task that you must have assigned. Then resource allocation is something that we also consider in product execution. And then we have the shipping and iterating. So basically this is product execution is just an adaptive approach whenever we are building a product. It just makes it easy for everybody, because you don't want to be building something that is not useful. So when you can go back to the drawing board and say, okay, we did this and it worked fine. Okay, I think this new feature will be okay. So it just focuses product execution mainly focuses on delivery, the timeline and iteration. Then we then go on to ask why the gap exists. So one of the reasons why this gap exists between product strategy and product execution is misalignment of vision between leadership and team. So most of the time you can have like your executive stakeholder saying, oh, I am investing this amount of money into this project. They because they don't have the technical know-how, they just want to drop money and put out the project. So sometimes if you don't strategize well, and if you just follow maybe what the executive stakeholder wants, you might not hit the nail on the head. So you just have like a back and forth, which would strongly affect the products that you're building. Another gap that exists between product strategy and execution is strategy is often too abstract and not actionable, because during your product strategy, you can assume and say, oh, this is possible, this is easy for me to do. I'll be able to achieve this in this amount of weeks or amount of months. Meanwhile, when you now look into it properly, you notice that maybe you don't have like, let's say resources, that is like maybe your development team is incapable of doing or like giving you the results that you want. So most of the time when you strategize, you is more or less like an assumption, like you are hoping that it will go well, but some of it will not work out the way you have planned out. You can only work towards it, but it doesn't like certify or say certain that this thing that you are doing is going to work out very well. Then another issue is poor communication across function. So someone might be, like I said, as a product owner or manager, you might be strategizing and you might have told maybe your stakeholders that this thing is doable, this one is this doable. And if you don't communicate well to the people that will develop, it might actually just like mess up the whole product that you're trying to build, because maybe you say something today, tomorrow you're coming to say another thing. So it makes execution very difficult. You'll not be able to achieve those goals that you must have set out. Then another gap that exists is fast-paced execution overrides strategy intent. So maybe, for example, now you've been working on this project, and then someone now comes to you and say, there's like this event going on where you have to pitch these products that you've been building, and then the only thing that is on your head now is like it's just like maybe you're having like a hackathon or something, and you've maybe had that project for a while, and someone is not telling you, yeah, come and present in this hackathon. So at that point, you forget all the things that you've been planning. You just want maybe a particular set of feature to be functional, and sometimes it just spoils the intentions you have towards the product from the initial stage. Then you have lack of ownership or clarity at tactical levels. So the thing is, when you are strategizing, no one can exactly say that this is like this is like what they want, or like there's no clarity whatsoever. Sorry. So a real world example of product strategy and execution is Slack. So Slack strategy was to build a tool that improves workplace communication. How did they execute it? They launched core features, which included only messaging, channels, and integration. So they must have had several meetings and all of that. How do we make communication easy between like different industries and stuff like that? So then they now went on to using, maybe they pushed out their MVP and they got feedback and they went back to the drawing board, reiterate maybe to improve something that was already functioning, and say, okay, this thing, we pushed it out and this is the feedback we got from our users, and then they made it better. Then with the whole back and forth like that, you know how there's always like an update on an application. They were able to get feedback from their users. They maintain clarity on the vision while iterating quickly. So anytime they must have pushed out like a new update on the application, they would obviously get feedback. Maybe someone is unable to do something, or people that go all out to like pay for like more features, they get like feedback, and it just makes execution easy for them. So the lesson around Slack's product strategy and execution is that strong alignment with the user need, products and vision, and the feature delivery. So how do we then bridge the gap between product strategy and product execution? The first step is to be able to translate the strategy into roadmap. Use clear and actionable goals. So when you are strategizing, like I said, road mapping is very, very important. So you need to like be honest with yourself and say that this thing that I'm building, I'm not just going to be assuming and be fantasizing that this, like, it should be doable. It should be something that you know that genuinely with your resources and like investment, it is going to give you what you want. Don't come and be assuming that okay, if I gather this set of people, because human factor is even something that we most times do not consider, because most of the time you can have developers on like a product or a project, and then you assign tasks to them. One factor or the other can happen, one factor or the other can be the reason why they are unable to deliver. So whenever you are strategizing, be very realistic with whoever you're putting on your team. the audience you are trying to reach. Don't just do something because, oh, I'm trying to solve a problem, or everybody's doing it, everybody's doing fintech. Let me go on let me jump on the bus and do fintech too, and without a proper strategy and without proper road mapping. Then another practical step is to ensure cross-functional clarity, regular check-ins and documentation. Like I said earlier, when you are building a product, you need to take all your sprints ceremonies very seriously. You need to take up your daily stand-up so that all the plans that you have does not go to waste and people are just doing what they like. There's no proper documentation. You are coming today telling them that this part of the application that you built is no longer useful for us. We need to, so like whenever you are doing your strategy, I would strongly advise that we prioritize documentation, know the requirements that you are trying to build, like from both all the stakeholders, be it the person dropping the money, be it let everybody be aligned and like be sure that this thing that they're about to kickstart, nobody's going to come, let's say tomorrow and say, oh no, let's like proper approval and agreements. It should be very important, and communication also. Then when you are trying to then do your product strategy and execution, you should be able to define the metrics of success, align both teams on what success looks like. So when you are doing your product strategy and you are trying to execute it, from the discovery stage, the initiation stage, you should be able to say these are the objectives, these are the things that we want to achieve in this period of time. And also, another practical step is feedback loop. Use execution data to refine the strategy, then prioritize frameworks, like make trade-offs and visible structure. The tools that we need for product strategy and execution includes road mapping and planning using tools like Product Plan, AHA, and Notion. I personally prefer Notion because of the integration and like the new feature of AI. So it just makes things easy. You don't necessarily have to start doing all the hard work by yourself. If you have like a draft of whatever it is that you want to do, you can just tell the AI on Notion to help you with it, and it just makes everything easier. Then for execution and tracking, I know that some of us know how to use Trello, Jira, Asana, then feedback and collection. So when you want to do maybe like your questionnaire, or you want to do like a feedback process to know how people feel about your application, or even in the process of launching that, oh, please help us to test out this prototype. So you can use tools like Typeform, Intercom, Hotjar. Then for communication with your stakeholders, we have Slack, Zoom, and Miro, and maybe Google Workspace, whichever you feel that is convenient for you. Then the key takeaway so far is that strategy and execution must be treated as two sides of the same coin. They are equally very important. So you can't be strategizing without like proper execution, and you cannot be trying to execute something if you don't strategize well. Then clarity, communication, and accountability. These are the things that we need to consider very well. Then we have a successful products balance big picture vision and tactical excellence, and continuous alignment ensures long-term product success. Thank you. So this is like a quick, a short, saying. It says strategy without execution is a daydream. Execution without strategy is a nightmare. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Oluwatomi. That was very, very insightful. All right. So please, do we have questions? Does anybody have a question to ask? Please, do we have questions? Questions. We can simply say no questions. We can learn how to say no questions.
No questions.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, Oluwatomi, do you have questions for us?
I just would like to ask if anybody like how they would handle whatever, like how they will handle whatever product like if it's something that they will be able to use when they have to build whatever product it is. No serious question. I just hope that they're taking note of it and they get to use it when they're building their own products. No questions.
Okay, so I think you need to ask somebody. So you can just ask anybody.
No, I don't particularly have any question.
Okay. All right, so I have a question, maybe a quick one. My question is, from the Japanese proverbs you put up there, what could be the reason why a person has a strategy, but there's no execution? What could be possible causes, and how do we avoid that?
Okay, so you could plan and it doesn't work out the way you want due to different factors. Maybe you assume that everything is set in stone, and then maybe a situation, maybe you have someone that invested in you, and then he just comes to there and says, "Oh, I don't see value in this thing that you're trying to build. I want out of it." So, and then it alters the execution. Everything that you are doing, it just comes to us just because you planned and one way or the other, something did not just work out. So it just makes the whole execution non-existent anymore. Or maybe you have even started working on the product, and then maybe like one of your key resources, like the senior developer just comes and says, I don't think I can take up, or just ghost you. There's nothing you can do about it. So you can, there are different times whereby you plan and then something just happens and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's why you need to be able to do your documentations in such a way that even if you are employing people to work for you, there are like agreements that binds them still. I'm not saying you should be wicked, but like when there's proper like documentation, planning, and everything, it just makes it easier. So nobody can just come up or wake up one day and say, "Oh, this thing, I don't want to have anything to do with it." Or maybe someone will say, and this feature, I don't think it is important. So if maybe like you have a product requirement document now, someone can, and everybody on the team has decided that yes, this is what we are doing. So nobody can just wake up and say they want to take out something that is not important. Only if everybody on the team has accepted that, okay, yes, this is not important. So there are a lot of things that we can do personally to just make sure that our execution goes well. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's KD. Do have a productive day.